Well, I guess I can never hear that, but looks like we're good to go.
Alright. Well, let's get ready to hop in then.
Looks like we're good to
I
go.
think we're just letting our observer panic and lose his mind with the new broadcast overlay.
Yeah,
we've got some double audio as well.
Ooh.
Hope that's not come through for the viewers. Oops.
Hopefully, oh.
Okay, I think we're good now. Are we sorted this? Yeah, we're good now.
No, we are not. We got the bottom right spoiling everything, so.
Oh, yeah. Click the cinematic mode button, you noob. I'm sorry, Vodka. I had to call you.
You can't do
Apologies,
that.
folks. We kind of threw a new overlay on him last second. There we go. So, yeah, welcome. To what you've been waiting
that's
for.
not gonna work. That's not gonna work. Full cinematic mode won't. Because we won't have minimap in that case.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Oh,
I'll just give it back. Yeah, something along those lines. All right. I guess here we are. Nope.
He can't even get the button back.
Okay, yeah, just keep it like that. Keep it like that.
Oh, wait, no, there we go. We done it. It's gone.
Is it?
This is what we wanted.
Okay,
Good job, Vodka.
we're good.
All right, apologies for that, folks, but welcome to the September weekly number 3. We're finally underway. Opening up the best of one, unexpected best of one. GiveUAnxiety, Vinchester in a best of one French mirror.
Good old-fashioned French mirror it is. Something that we've been missing for quite a while. Recently, Rus mirrors, Abbasid mirrors were the ones dominating the battlefield. Back we are to the roots of AOE4. French mirror it is.
Actually, no, I'm kind of okay with this. You know, if you don't see it for a while, you kind of want to see it again. I think it made sense for me to see this coming out from Vinchester. We actually saw him do this last weekend when he went up against Sal's Good Game, his fellow esports team, compadre. It just seems like Vinchester's settled on the French and the Abbasids. I've seen him practicing the Abbasids quite a bit, but it's predictable. I love that GUA done his research, and of course, Vinchester did return the favor by getting rid of GUA's infamous Rus.
It's funny you say that, because I feel like if you say GUA's infamous, you should just continue saying English and not Rus.
I mean, anything that can use rams, right? I think that's the key detail I'm looking for there. Anything that likes archers and rams, which is why Rus in English is definitely top of the list. I think I mentioned that in the pregame, right? I was like, maybe he goes for English. It just feels like it's fallen off a little bit. And I think the English-French matchup is not a desirable one for English players on Dry Arabia. So, understandable.
Yeah, that's an understatement. Like, on Dry Arabia, you really don't want to play English against the French here. So, yeah, he probably feels better with the mirror. Although it's risky. This is a best of one, ladies and gents. So, you make one small mistake, the entire game could snowball out of control, and you're out from the final weekly.
That's true. And the interesting thing to consider here is a lot of players at the moment have been stepping back from mirrors intentionally. They just don't like them. They think it can be a little bit RNG, a little bit tough because, you know, the smallest things make the biggest differences. So I talked to a few players who say they kind of intentionally know what their opponent's going to go for and then try to avoid matching it. Instead, they try to counter it. The interesting part here is Vinchester, I don't think he necessarily knew what GUA was going to go for. I think GUA knew the other way around, though. It seems like GUA intentionally chose the mirror matchup here.
Makes a lot of sense if you think about that. GUA, he has been focusing on AOE4 for a long time, whereas for Vinchester, as you mentioned in the pregame, he missed quite a lot of time in this game. He was really good at the beginning after release, but then he just went back to AOE2, still trying to catch up, so GUA probably feels more confident in a mirror matchup, especially one where the margin of error is so small.
And Vinny is definitely no pushover. He's got a lot of skill to him, but there's no denying that AOE4 has changed a lot since his OG days on this game. The game is a lot faster, a lot more vicious, a lot more feudal focused, and all three of those things definitely sound like things that GUA would be happy to hear. So curious to see what he can do, though. I mean, the first thing I'm looking at is the build-up. Typically, we see Wheelbarrow being researched halfway through the School of Cavalry build-up, but not this time around. In fact, interestingly enough, they've both chosen to do it after reaching feudal. Kind of surprising.
Makes some sense if you think about that. That first knight coming out is immensely valuable, especially in French mirrors, so you probably want to make sure that you have sufficient gold to queue it up immediately upon hitting feudal, even if you have to delay Wheelbarrow for some seconds because of that.
Yeah, the only thing that I'm worried about is I've seen too often people do this build and then they still go for the racks. Racks feels really awkward if you aren't maximizing economy, right? Because the Rax is you suggesting that you're going to be on the defensive, especially on a map like Dry Arabia. Curious to see who's going to blink first in that regard.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that, who's gonna blink first, because it really feels like it. Essentially, you want to just make knights non-stop in a French mirror. The one player that is losing in that moment will be the one starting to make spearmen. So, as you said, it's the question of who blinks first, who feels more like they are actually losing in that given moment. That would justify them to go for spearmen, but ideally, as you said, you just want to keep making knights. For now, GiveUA seems to be the defender here, just holding the knights back at home.
Oh, that looks intentional though, right? He's now starting to stack up knights. He'll have them in faster quantities on the defensive. I think he's trying to pinch one knight to get the count. You can kind of see it, right? Like, he's keeping all his knights together, and Vinchester's splitting them apart.
Yeah, makes some sense. It also could be just...
What?
Oh, what's that?
What was that? What was that knight doing?
he was torching the School of Cavalry. Yep,
like,
could also be the fact that if you keep your 3 knights around, you might get a very good charge in. And keep in mind, if you want to go for chivalry here, you have to sacrifice 1 knight, because you can't produce knight and get chivalry at the same time using the School of Cavalry. So it could also be the fact that he just wants to get 1 good charge in and do heavy damage to 1 specific knight, even if he can't kill it.
And you can kind of see how, at the moment, Vinchester's going to get a good trade. GiveUA is not really giving much attention to it. Whoops.
Yeah.
What is... Wait, has he gone on the offensive? Yeah, he's gone on the offensive. I was about to say, this makes more sense then. So it looks like GiveUA is looking to pounce into his opponent's base. And right now, like, he could actually have the perfect opportunity to strike down knights here and then also dive into his opponent's base with 1 or 2 knights. For the time being, Vinchester's at least keeping him back here. And he does go for the Rax first.
Ooh, interesting. 5 to 5 are the knights for the time being. GiveUA is holding both of his scouts back, so he's playing a very defensive game over here. He wants to ensure that he knows where those knights are coming from. He's also concealing some of his numbers, hiding some knights in the town center. So you really get the feel that he's trying to get Vinchester to do something and force him to make a mistake rather than just committing himself.
The idea of storing knights in the TC is kind of cool, actually. I've seen a few people utilizing this well to essentially shorten the distance from one side of your base to the other. Just garrison in, garrison out sort of thing. So curious to see if that's going to come into play, because it would give you the ability to react a bit more aggressively and quickly to Vinchester's attacks.
I think there is a knight still hiding in at the C, by the way. So I think it's not just, you know, hopping in and hopping out. He is hiding some knight numbers back at home, probably wanting Vinchester to commit a little bit more aggressively and then surprising him. Yeah, there it is.
I'm wondering if it's just heavily injured, right? Like, I wish we could see the health bar, because what this might be is he's just trying to save the most injured ones for when he gets chivalry later.
He just popped out, so we can check him.
Is Larry limping around? Is that what's happening? And you can see the difference in choice here, though. Vinchester decided to go into the chivalry. He's heavily delayed his knight production, and then also on top of that, GiveUA already doesn't just have the knight lead, he now has spearmen in the mix as well. However, GiveUA is also looking in the wrong location here. Free pick for Vinchester. Keeps him ahead on the eco count.
Yeah, he had to look there. He ran out of sheep, so he needed to commit to the mill on the deer. But that means that he's losing quite a lot of villagers now. Losing 2 on the berries, might even lose 1 on the gold mine.
Oh lordy. Vinchester definitely picking him, pulling him left and right, and GiveUA with only 3 spearmen, so not enough to amply defend in both locations, and now resorting to the wall in. I'm wondering if we'll see a play onto stone at this rate, considering he's beginning to condense himself and is kind of going full turtle as it stands. Oh, wait, is that? Okay, survival techniques. Every time I see it, I'm pretty sure that's survival techniques, of course. Glad to see that coming out, actually. I'm a little bit surprised Vinny was a little bit delayed on getting out onto his own deer. I think he's out there now. He hasn't gone for survival techniques just yet, and the timing might be terrible for him because GiveUA is on the way there now.
Ooh, Vinchester knows, though. He's trailing 3 knights with 3, actually joining with the 4th, and this is perfect. Also goes for preemptive tower, so he's gonna have a shelter for those villagers. So very nice reaction here to this raid from GiveUA.
It's the garrison inside. 1 villager will go down. Actually, maybe gets 2 here. What? Okay. I don't know if that was intentional, but we'll just say yes. Vinchester keeps them all alive. And now Vinny with a free knight lead. With the influx of extra food from the deer as well, he should be able to maintain that lead. And GiveUA so far not really getting any value out of these spears.
Not at all, indeed. As you said, it's the who blinks first contest. GiveUAnxiety decided to blink first, go for the spearman. But as you said, they are barely doing anything. And they're just struggling to catch up with the mobility. Look at that.
Yeah, this wasn't as much who blinks first as who goes for a little bit of a nap first. It feels like GUA is one step behind on these rotations, and Vinchester definitely exploiting a lot more of that. Not to mention the fact that he's the one with Chivalry, so between these fights, he's also just extending his lead in terms of Cavalry, now up 4 in actual numbers, but more than that when you think about the raw HP.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Also, the villagers, not just the villagers killed, but the idle time force. Then, once again, the damage is massive on the eco of GUA, finally picking off one knight with those spears.
Would love to see Vinchester get a blacksmith's. It feels like it's about time. He's got 400 wood. He hasn't actually invested it yet. And he has got over 10 knights. This is definitely a good point because then he can take out those villages in 2 hits. You saw there, 2 knight strikes with a sword wasn't good enough.
Yeah, it's a big thing, especially when spearmen are there to chase you. So timing is crucial. Although those spearmen, as we discussed, they're barely doing anything. They're just running around like headless chicken trying to catch up to those high mobility knights.
Yeah, they definitely aren't skipping leg day anytime soon, that's for sure. Yeah, they're getting the runs in. Their Fitbits would probably be at infinite numbers at this rate, but for the moment, once again, Vinchester distracting the whole army at the backside, and then he raids in onto the goal where real damage is being done here. Idle plus villagers going down, and nobody here to defend. Mistakes have been made. GUA now 7 villagers behind Vinchester.
Talk about that snowball starting to roll. Down 7 eco, and a knight number is also in the favor of Vinchester. This is getting better and better here for our red player. Actually, even taking out some of the spearmen here, possibly. Beautiful fights, one after another.
Yeah, this is just a bad fight for Geo to take. Remember, when a spearman braces, he stuns himself and one of the cavalry units. So 4 knights going against 2 spears there just means that you're stunned on the spot while you're being clubbed over the face by a few knights. It doesn't feel good, and this is not feeling good right now for GUA. Yeah, he has the military pop cap lead, but as you can see, he has 0 ways of using it right now.
Yeah, he's got a lot of spearmen out there, which could be concerning for Vinch, but Vinchester himself starting to add spearmen from double barracks now, it seems. Also working his way towards the second TC, but he needs to hold off this assault very soon.
Yeah, now we are at risk of this turning into a boring mirror. I've seen this matchup before with the mass spearmen, mass cavalry. It feels really awkward and it's slow to actually get a winner a lot of the time, but the way these guys are planned across the map, things could easily backfire in the blink of the eyes, so GUA begins to dive in. 18 spearmen now on the front line. However, he needs to find the eco and snipe it out. Otherwise, Vinchester will continue to escalate.
And escalate he does. You see spearman number increasing now for him. And at one point, he can take a decisive engagement, you feel.
Pluses are on both sides, at least. GUA not being left in the dust when it comes to that. And also, keep in mind, GUA, he went for the blacksmiths. Vinchester still hasn't. So this fight, it is not as even as it might apparently appear. Vinchester is at a clear loss in this fight, as long as the spearman can hold. However, there's just too many knights overwhelming him. The trade is going to favor Vinchester. He'll hold his own base, and GUA will wish that he brought more spearmen with him over here.
Yeah, that's the big point, right? This was a suboptimal fight for Vinchester, but he can afford to do this because he's up with the eco and he's working towards the second TC. So he was able to take that fight, even though suboptimal, knowing that it is just too big of a loss on GUA's side as well.
I'm at a loss as to where those spearmen were, Lidakor. I mean, there's 14 spearmen unaccounted for. There's 4 of them. Maybe 5. I still feel like they were a little bit slow to come across. They weren't waypoint in this fight. That would have been a decent fight for GUA. The move into the blacksmiths was pretty crafty, actually, but it leads to nothing but despair for him. Vinchester now will have complete map control, and map control is key in the current meta.
It is, especially when the players are working towards pocket ecos like we are seeing from GiveUAnxiety as well to the north. Perfect opportunity to raid as well for Vinch. He's raiding the berries right now. He will probably find some success on the north as well on the deer soon.
Yeah, this is starting to look a little bit chalked for GUA. He needs a really big side step. One thing that could be good for him is a secondary TC, but so far, no intent to play towards it. You have to remember, Vinchester did get that secondary TC. And, I mean, it's concerning because now, yeah, you got all these spears, but you're extending so far out your base on these pocket ecos. How do you actually guard all the locations at once?
I mean, you keep 15 spearmen close to your villagers.
That's true. What about the other villagers? I think they can figure it out themselves, right? It's not my problem. Oi, oi, oi. I mean, the tough part is... So what makes it even so sadder is if you check the vision on GUA there, he can't even preemptively react to the raids from the knights. Like, he sees nothing. Everyone up there needs to go to an optician's because they just can't see anything.
Yeah, he's got no scouts left. I think those scouts fell in battle close to the base of Vinchester. Vinchester still has 1 scout operational, so he does have some vision. He's also somewhat limited when it comes to line of sight, especially in the north, but that one scout could help acquire targets for those knights.
Absolutely. Vision is so critical in the French mirror matchup for the Knights, so they don't actually run into a spear line for the spears to actually react on time. And that's why I love Vinchester's build, where he actually regularly goes for these outposts on his pocket ecos. We saw him do it on the deer. It gives him so much map control indirectly. He can react ahead of time. These spears that are usually too slow can be waiting for these Knights when they arrive.
Yeah, that's a big thing, and you do have a couple of stealth forests scattered across the map. Those could be really good ambush points as well. There is one in particular in front of the base of Vinchester that could be used to just ambush those coming knights.
It's just so underrated, though. You know, people don't want to sacrifice one knight, but it's like it takes 20 seconds to push that scout. He definitely can turn the tide of a battle. Right now, this is a battle that Vinchester doesn't want to take, but it's off the back of a transition. You can see after he took such a good fight, he decided to go into the archery ranges now. So he's going to catch GiveUA off guard here. He's leveraging a lot of spears and no mass counter to the archers that are beginning to ball up.
Yeah, Vinchester has to go archers over here because he's being swarmed by spearmen. Mostly, GiveUA is just operating with spears, 26 on the field already, but sufficient amount of archers to hold them back for the time being, I feel.
Yep, archers are going to stand their ground. A few spearmen to slow down the assault, and then the archers can start to step back, and you just do feel like GiveUA has to commit here. He can't walk around, he can't walk away, and he knows it. However, he can't easily pinch these knights either, and they're now at risk of diving a double TC with a squishy ball. There's barely any knights in here.
Yeah, he can't take this fight, but he kind of has to. He sees the second TC, knows that he's falling behind an eco so fast. He needs to take this fight, but this is just a terrible engagement for him. Archers picking apart all those spears.
Yeah, that's going to be another rout of an army in behind that. GiveUA hasn't really got any strategy to get him further. You can see there's a lack of a secondary TC. There's a lack of a castle age timing coming. In fact, at this rate, Vinchester seems more likely to crack castle, considering he now has a healthy military lead. And he has plenty of gold already pocketed.
Yeah, it's also the escalation potential, right? Vinchester is operating with 2 TCs, his counterpart still on 1. And the more important thing is that those pocket ecos now are massively exposed for GiveUA. You have the Holy Trinity, infantry, archers, and cavalry as the composition of Vinch. GiveUA has no archers. He has no tools to defend those pocket ecos with right now.
And you can see the comparison. Vinchester playing out onto every pocket eco, not a risk here because GiveUA doesn't have knights anymore. Meanwhile, Vinchester exists with that threat. And it means that your blue French player in this situation has to transition it into farms. After just losing an army as well, Lidakor. That's why you can now see he's at risk of being tripled up in the military pop gap.
This is very scary. Not only is he transitioning to farming, he's also transitioning to castle age as well. Leaves him exposed to counterattacks, like the one that this Lonely Knight is doing, for example.
Yeah, he's trying to be MVP for his team. It takes a while to get through these. Oh, is that textiles, or did he just click the wrong?
No, there is textiles.
Okay, so that's at least the sensible part for GiveUA. But the idle time alone is a stinger here. Just keeping you off the berries for an easy 30 seconds adds up when it's about 15 villagers doing so.
Especially when you're also going up to castle age and you're transitioning to farms. And this castle age transition will be spotted possibly by Winch. That could be a game changer.
It's not even a quick build up either. Look at the numbers.
Yeah, only
There's,
4
5 villagers on that? I mean, this is dangerous, actually. GiveUA only has 10 spearmen. He's already spread thin, and considering Vinchester now knows about this, he can plow in with the entire army. 21 archers, 15 spearmen, and 9 knights at his disposal, and I think he realizes it's time to rock and roll.
You're saying this is dangerous for GiveUAnxiety. I would call this suicidal, rather. I have no idea how he's going to hold this off. It's not gonna be the push with the rams, as you see, no siege engineering. It's just gonna be a direct push into the base to slay all the villagers.
He has such limited military production, though. It's just basically racks, so you can get men-at-arms, but the problem with men-at-arms, the reason I'm just never a fan of them is you can't dictate where the fight happens unless you box your opponent in. Right now, you're the one boxed in, so you can't even take these fights. You'll be avoided at all times by the heavy cavalry. Heavy cavalry that are now looking to begin a butcher in here. GiveUA will try to escort his lads out.
Oh!
Lads and ladettes might be in trouble. They get out of range just in time, but Vinchester already sniffs it out. Moving south towards the base is going to cut them off. Even if they stay alive, that's now a lot of idle eco GiveUA is now missing out on.
And he's also missing out on his castle age timing. You see, Vinchester is also aging to castle right now, so by the time GiveUA is able to get anything out here in castle age, his opponent is also gonna be up. Not only is he gonna be up, he's going up with the Royal Institute, so he's gonna start getting royal bloodlines for the 9 knights he already has on the field.
Oh, this is getting uncomfortable. I mean, keep in mind GiveUA also went for the Guildhall. And that was scouted.
Yeah.
Vinchester has read this perfectly. He could easily end this game in the next 5 minutes. GiveUA now has to go into zombie survival mode. Although he's kind of producing a type of zombie of his own in these men-at-arms.
The problem here with the man-at-arms is that he's taking a gamble. He's taking a gamble that Vinch won't have a lot of knights or arbaletrier, but the moment Vinch reaches Castle Age, arbaletrier would just deal with those.
Vinny, back up for the moment. Are willing to take the assault. Remember, upgrades have already come through on one side, not on the other, but Vinchester knows in the next 2 minutes, not only can he have mirrored these upgrades on the knights, but he can exceed them with things like the raw bloodlines and the canted saddles.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? Like, GiveUA would need to push right now before the upgrades come in for Vinch, but he simply can't because he's outnumbered 2-1 when it comes to army, and also his army is not necessarily good for escalation. As you said, knights, men-at-arms, and spearmen. Against a force that will feature some Royal Bloodlines Knights, some archers with Castle Age upgrades, but probably most importantly, Arbaletiad would just shred everything that GiveUA has, really.
I mean, it's a big weakness of being on the defense of what you just highlighted. You know, you want to go in when you see your opponent's teched up before the upgrades come out. Problem is, when you're in your own base like this, what do? Chase him to his own base? By the time you arrive in Vinny's base, not only will the tech ups be complete, but then he'll have production on his side, and he already has military count on his side. So it just feels like a lose-lose situation. It's a tough one for GiveUA.
Yeah, he's also falling behind an eco, down by 11 already. No one to collect relics yet. That could possibly be a saving grace for GiveUA if he can sneak out a couple of monks to get some relics, because, truth be told, Vinchester is not playing a very aggressive game here at the beginning of Castle Age.
I must have missed the patch notes where French monks got ghillie suits, because I just don't see how he gets out on the mid-map without dying. Maybe if he's hidden. He should have picked green Lidakor instead of blue. Flash right here. Now, the problem is his men-at-arms aren't really getting to dish out their full damage. And in fact, it kind of feels like the archers are winning this right now.
Beautiful choke point fight it is for Vinchester. And as you said, archers just peppering down the spearmen from behind. And then once the spearmen are gone, the knights can take decent engagements against the men-at-arms and just buy time until the first couple of arbaletiers arrive to the field.
I mean, this feels like the type of moment where you could end up GGing. Like, that, your plan was men-at-arms, and it just failed against archers. I'll say that again. Your plan was men-at-arms, and it just failed against the unit it's meant to do well against.
Uh-oh.
Oh my god. No, the timing on this. GiveUA, he needs to keep. That's it. That's literally it. That was his last hope. The bastion of defense that will never come to fruition. GG gets called. Vinchester moves on.
Punishing mirror as it is, and as you said, small advantages can easily swing the battle in your favor. Such was the case in this matchup as well. GiveUA was the first one to blink. He went with the spearman, but those really didn't pay for the price, because ultimately Vinchester was the one being able to yoink those villager kills, and I would dare to say that GiveUA wasn't able to kill a single villager from Vinch. He was just unable to touch the eco of Vinchester the whole game, whereas for Vinch, he kept raiding and raiding, slowly building up that lead.
Nah, it was well played by Vinchester. He set the aggression, GiveUA was forced to react, and then it felt like GiveUA wanted to go on the offensive after setting up Spearman to defend, but a mistake made here, trick missed really, was getting some walls up a little bit earlier, condensing the entry points to your base so you could be relieved of guard duty. Never able to do that though, so Vinchester takes the lead, takes the win, and you know, I gotta give it to Puppy Port. He was right. He said this is where GiveUA brings it back. He just didn't realize he meant to bring it back to the lobby.